Let's walk through 8 photos showing the use of a fixture plate. So this one, we're machining a piece of precision board. We bought this from Inventables. We're actually using the fixture plate here for 3 things. We're using it to hold our relatively large vacuum plate with 4 toe clamps. We're using the fixture plate to actually hold our shop vac hose to help evacuate chips for safety and better machining and to see what we're doing. And then we've got a 246 block with a stud through it that locates our camera on the table. And if you're making a video, it's really helpful to have a camera mounted on the table, especially for longer shots or time lapses, because the camera moves relative to the workpiece. Here's what that part looked like when it was done. Same project. This was the second piece, relatively large piece of that precision board. We've got some Mighty Bite fixture clamps, and these have a offset lobe on them that causes the hex to push as you rotate it. So we've got 2 of them there. The travel wasn't quite perfect, but I liked this size, so we shimmed it back out. And we're also using the fixture plate to hold an indicator. When we first started this cut, I wanted to make sure that the part didn't move, basically that this fixturing was adequate. So by putting an indicator on there and preloading it to 0, we were able to see as we started this cut that the part was pretty rigid. We actually did end up having a small problem with this we didn't anticipate, which was that the helix of the tool wanted to pull the material up, so pulling it axially versus radially. So we learned a lesson there, but nevertheless a great example of holding a little bit of a large and awkward part on a fixture plate. Here we needed full access to this profile to machine around it, and it was a relatively thin piece of steel, relatively thin to its length. So what occurred to us is we could use a clamp stud kit to secure a stud to the table and secure that in place. And if you take a look, it worked great. It got rid of all of our chatter and it gave us full access to the profile of that workpiece. Picture number 5. This is the Tormach 4-inch CNC vise. I like this style of vise because the sides are ground. That allows you to rotate the vise up on its side. Super useful for longer parts. And here we're using a dowel pin at the bottom and one that's hidden up at the top. And that allows this vise to quickly and accurately be located at 45 degrees if you've got to have that orientation for the setup or part. Number 6, we built a trunnion. We did this as a Wednesday widget on showing how to locate a number of holes at very precise angles and avoid having to make multiple setups or using something like a sign plate. And the fixture plate allowed us to quickly and accurately locate the 4th axis on the left side as well as the tailstock on the right side. And that was really important because we had to spend some time getting that tailstock exactly where we wanted it to minimize the run out. The other benefit is allowing easy access to mount the 4th axis quickly and mounting it outside of your work envelope. That way you're not eating up machine area with the mounting of the device itself. This was a job that we ran years back. We had to turn down a large diameter piece, and I didn't have a lathe large enough to do it, so we did it on the 1100. And what we did was we mounted the large platter on top of a rotary table outside of the work envelope of the machine, and then by hand we rotated the rotary table and allowed us to clean up the outside of that part and turn it down to a precise manner in the mill. If you've got 2 ops, one where you're doing some work in a vise and the second where you need to do some work in a chuck, quick and easy way to mount a chuck on your CNC mill. Here's another great example to the benefits of a fixture plate. Placing a relatively large piece, this is off a horizontal mill, where you've got to be able to set the part up, you've got to be able to use shims and pads to tram the part in and align it in. It would be very difficult to do this without having the location and holes and clamping abilities of the fixture plate. And finally, this one is near and dear to my heart. This is one of the last fixtures that we still have laying around from how we got started in all of this. One of the first things we started to make were GoPro mounts, and these were some of the first fixtures I ever made. And this one no longer has the Mighty Bite clamps in it, but we had made these fixtures and we were able to load them offline and hot swap them out using some diamond pins underneath of them, and we were able to make a volume of parts on our Tormach after I got home every day from my day job, and that was pretty cool. So I thought we'd wrap up with that, folks. Thanks for watching.